What's up, Will? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Talking to you the other day was so refreshing, man, because also often, like when the students or the mentee go out and amass the level of success, you can't get in touch with them because they think they're the one that created all of that power. But the thing I've always appreciated about you, man, is that you're always still just a phone call or a text away. And whether you're out of the country or whatever, like you always hit me back and you're always just thankful, man. But I just want you to introduce yourself, let people know, your background and why that mentorship with you and I, why that was so priceless for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, my name is Antonio Buchanan. I have been knowing Will for a very long time. I started with him. I'm not going to say the trenches because Will been doing this for a very long time, but it was definitely pre-pandemic. And so just to preference this, I kind of want to give you guys like a little snapshot of my background to tell you kind of where I came from, right? Because I know we often talk about the barriers and things that Will was talking about today. And a lot of time that kind of stop us from going and moving forward because somebody has shined something in your face and you get distracted for a second, but it kind of gets you off your true purpose of why you was here and the things that you're trying to accomplish. So I had a very diverse background. I started off, I was in the military. I was a U.S. Marshal in Miami, kicking down doors. I was a CIA intelligence officer. And then I also was a computer engineer by trade at Microsoft. So as Will was talking about the degrees, I have them, right? You can probably see one on my wall right now. I have 4 degrees, a master's from Johns Hopkins. I was in corporate America making a lot of money. But I can tell you that even after the money that I was making, after the success that I amassed, because I did everything that my mom told me to do, my friends wanted me to do, and my family wanted me to do, which was go to school, get a good job, retire early, and do X, Y, and Z. But I can tell you that I still wasn't fulfilled, right? And so when I decided to jump in and take this real estate thing serious, I actually didn't start off as a full-time investor. I was actually investing in real estate. And then I was also working a full-time job. When anytime somebody tell me they don't have enough time, anytime somebody tell me, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, I'm thinking about doing that, I always call bullshit, right? Because you make time for what you want to make time for. When you see that bag that's in the store, you say, hey, I'm going to get that. I'm going to work hard for that to go get that. Nobody make excuses for the material things that you want. When you see that Rolls Royce on social media, you try to figure out how you're going to get it. So for me, education was important, but I think mentorship was even more important because I'm going to tell you why it was really important that I got myself a mentor when I first got in the game and why the connection that me and Will have is so beneficial and is still paying off to this day. Is that even if you have the money, even if you have been on YouTube, what I call the free university, free education, you can watch video after video. Society has brainwashed us or conditioned us to learn things in a certain manner, right? School, right? So you get a mentor because they're going to shortcut what you have to normally spend years and years learning, and they're going to prevent you from making mistakes. And when I connected with Will, the strategies that he implemented was what helped me. Because I can go right now and get $100,000, but if I don't know how to deploy that capital, it does me no good. Because the first thing that we do, especially as African Americans, when we get money, we want to log into our bank account. We want to look at it every single day. And then what typically happens is that we start spending it little by little on things that don't produce us money.
It's interesting, man, because the logging in, that's real. We want to see them numbers. But like you say, a lot of the times you mentally spend it before you physically spend it. So now, as I've met with people who they got 40,000 in credit and we try to get them to join a program and they'll tell themselves they can't afford it, but that's because the money is mentally spent on something else. So it's not even that they don't have the money. They've already spent it. They've allocated 10,000 of that money to go to a vacation. They allocated 6,000 of that money to go to a birthday party or for Christmas or for New Year or whatever the case may be. And so I just wanted you to come on here now, Antonio, and this may or may not apply to you. Do you feel that you had some type of financial trauma. Were there any obstacles you had to mentally overcome when it came to understanding, oh man, I don't have to use my money, I can use credit? Did you have to overcome any of that?
Well, so for me was slightly different because I would say that I was considered advanced at that time when it came from a financial perspective due to my background. But what I will say is this, being that I am from Mississippi, outside of the financial aspect of it, there were social things that took place and that happened in areas that a lot of people in the South kind of deal with, whether it's social discrimination, whether it's access to resources, whether it's not having the proper education from outside of what they teach you in school. I think that was one of my biggest hurdles because it's all about who you know in a lot of different places. And so what happened is, especially growing up in Mississippi, is that it's like a good old boys club, right? It's not about, okay, I have the money, I can buy my way in. It's more or less like, hey, this is the group of people that control 99% of everything. And so if you want to get in this circle, then you have to kind of mentally prepare yourself. And so what typically happens in those situations is that you get discouraged, right? Because if you do something one time and you don't succeed, you do something again, you don't succeed, you'd be like, man, I'm done with this. How many people, now think about this, right? How many people that have either tried real estate one time, failed, or invested in a deal and said, I'm never doing this again? And so mentally, you have to overcome all of the obstacles that you have to face. And to Will's point, one thing that I will say, because I do have a lot of friends that's in this space as well, and no matter how much money a person makes financially, everybody is always concerned if they're going to go broke, right? And it's typically the people that work a 9-to-5 job. So let me give you one statistic. 2 years ago, I worked at Microsoft, Fortune 500 company, $1 trillion company. They laid off 500,000 people. The year I left, 500,000 people. Tech industry. The one thing that people always say, well, if you do tech, you good. AWS laid off another 1 million people. You name them, right? And so I always tell people that you have to set yourself up for success. There's nothing wrong with you liking what you do 9 to 5, but why can't you do that other thing as well? I'm going to tell you why. Because growing up in school, we were conditioned that we were only supposed to do one thing, right? Remember in high school when they say, hey, I want to play basketball and I want to run track? Well, stick to one thing. You remember in college when you say, hey, I want to major in engineering and I want to be a doctor? Well, you can't do both, right? So I'm just here to tell you guys that instead of saying or, you say and. I want to work my 9-to-5 job and I want to invest in real estate. I want to invest in real estate and I want to have a good credit score. I want to have a good credit score and I want access to $200,000, right? So that's the mentality that you have to get over and stop limiting yourself because somebody else put those obstacles and limitations on you.
Those mental barriers, man. Love it. So we started working together. We had the meeting. I said, Antonio, just trust me. Just trust me. And so you trusted me. Boom. First couple of weeks, month or so, we get you about 300,000. Like, what was that? Did that process change your thought process and was like, damn, this is like something I never even thought about?
Correct, right? So I would say this, and for everybody that's on the line right now listening, is that this is how I operate. And so I'm going to make an assumption that a lot of people operate the same way. So the worst thing that you can do is show me something is possible. Once you show me something is possible, it's a wrap, which is why Will has the community that he has, because you start to see everybody else say, oh, I got access to 300. Well, I didn't even know that it was possible. And so the first time that I got access to that amount of money at one time, I was truly mind blown because I was like, yo, it's no way that it's this easy, right? I'm like, it's no way that it's easy. How many people did you know that always brag about having an 800 credit score, right? Now, don't get me wrong. 800 credit score is phenomenal, but what are you doing? How are you leveraging your credit score to make you more money, to get you more passive income, to where you can retire early and have time freedom. That's why I do what I do. And so connecting with Will, not only getting the money and then not only giving the right strategies. And, you know, I would say this right now, because of Will, I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Very first deal, Will called me up. He said, yo, I got something for you. I said, say less. Went over the deal. With less than 30 days, I was closed and I was a new owner of a multifamily building in Milwaukee. Never had been to Milwaukee, never visited Milwaukee, never thought about Milwaukee, didn't know where Milwaukee was on a map. I said, let's go.
I remember. And that's the thing. You were so coachable. You didn't ask well, what about this and that? Like, you just trusted the process because we had already delivered the results. And that's what I tell people. Like, why would you get away from the power source that got you the initial result? And so you closed on a 12-unit building. You then from there got a 4-unit. Like, you got over 30 doors. You've done over 100 door transactions. You got a community, a team. Like, and you even told me the other day, everybody you know that you've helped invest now invest in Milwaukee.
Yes. Everybody now invest in Milwaukee. And, you know, because of Will kind of opened the door, I stepped through it. Will gave me the strategies. And I'm the type of person is that when somebody showed me something, I'm always going to make it better or add my own flavor to it because I know what it is that I want. And so because he opened the door for me, I have now opened doors for, you know, tens and tens of people that's coming through, you know, at least 40, 50 people right now that invest in Milwaukee and that has never been to Milwaukee and that live in the Midwest, East Coast, West Coast, and the South. And it's all because of one thing. I decided to take action. I decided to take action signing up for Will's program. I decided to take action on trusting Will. I decided to say, listen, Will can come to me right now and say, listen, I'm going to charge you $20,000 for this, this, and this. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, Will, where can I make the payment and who do I need to make it out to? Because I know it's going to be a 10x return on my money. I cannot tell you. Will, hold on. Will, do you mind if I just give numbers up real quick?
Go ahead, man. Go ahead. Okay. This might be new for me that I'm learning. So yeah, go ahead.
So Will connected me, and I can tell you that one building that I bought because of Will, the purchase price was $520,000. I never forget it. $520,000. I had to put down about 200 and some thousand because I was a new investor. And because I went from a single family home to a multifamily unit, I didn't have to put down 20%. They made me put down like almost 30%.
I remember that.
Yep. I remember. And I was like, okay, bet, because they thought it was going to deter me from doing it. I said, nope. And so I invested in that building. Now, I'm going to tell you what happened my first year in business. And a lot of people have unrealistic expectations. My first year in business, I made $0. Now, when I say I made $0, all the money that I made, I reinvested it back into the building. So I made money, but the cash flow, I was fixing up the floors. I was fixing up the ceilings. I was painting. I was doing landscaping. 2 years after that, I did a cash out refi and got back $150,000 of the money that I initially invested within 2 years. Today, I still have that property. It's worth over $1 million today. So if I wanted to sell that building right now, I can cash out another $400,000 or $500,000 just by selling it off of one investment that Will introduce me to.
Wow, that part I didn't know. I'm telling y'all, like, and this is what I tell people: you don't have to try to figure this out. We got the blueprint, we got the plan, we got real people, real stories, real journeys. And man, I just want to appreciate you, man, for taking time out of your day to come on, share this, share your testimony. Any last words you want to share to the people, man, for anybody who may be sitting on that fence?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So my whole thing, and the one thing that I'll say is that you have to take action. And the reason why you have to take action is because time is going to pass whether you take action or not. And I'm going to tell you something that is so important. 10 years ago, the people that wish they would invest say, man, I wish I would have invested 10 years ago. 5 years ago, people was like, man, I wish I would have invested 5 years ago. During the pandemic, and Will can vouch for this, investors that with the right strategies probably made the most money that they've ever made during the pandemic. Had 0 vacancies. Section 8 was paying. I had nothing to worry about. So the one thing that I'm going to tell you is take action, but not only take action, learn the strategies. What are you going to do if Will gave you or got you 300,000 today? What are you going to do with it? So that's why it's so important to build a community. That's why it's so important to tap in with Will. That's why it's so important to just follow the blueprint. What's the worst case that can happen? Okay, worst case that can happen is that you try and you fail. Okay, I'm sure you've tried a lot of things and failed. I'm sure a lot of people bought trucks during the pandemic that's failing right now. I'm sure a lot of people invest in crypto is failing right now. I'm sure a lot of people did the whole multi-level marketing and, you do everything but the right thing, and then you expect not to see results. I can say it, and I'm a living testimony that if you follow Will's strategy, you will succeed because there's no such thing as failure. You only fail when you stop.
Just like that, mic drop. Appreciate you, Antonio, man. We're going to keep winning, keep eating, and we're going to keep feeding the people off of all of that, man. So thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Love, bro.